Grab your maps, Wargamers, but never forget, the map is not the territory. This is the map we threw together in the last episode. This is the battlefield that upon which our tiny heroes will be fighting. We've got the hill down here. We've got a couple of light woods and a pond. Woods pond. It's about 300 yards across that pond. 1 inch equals 300 yards scale. And then we've got a couple of impassable marshes up there and a marsh that is only passable to foot troops right there. We've got a road running across this way, a road coming down here, and a stream that costs 3 inches to cross. This is the 13th episode of the White Queen's War. This is the 4th battle, and now the attrition is really starting to take effect. I want to show you something here. I make it a point to assign each of these units an actual name and an actual unit. And then we use the old lead pencil mark 1.0 to track how many casualties they've taken. This is not a standalone battle. This is part of a much larger story. We have to start thinking about that larger story. There's a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. See these guys right here? That, if we go to our map, they have been assigned as the 2nd White Gulch and the 1st Albinopolis, which you'll recall, there was a 1st and a 2nd Albinopolis. They took a beating, and now they've been combined into this one unit, which has 675 guys. Okay, wait, where's the 1st Albinopolis? There they are, 375. They have 187 casualties that will come back in 5 days. But they're right at that effective mark. If they lose one more soldier, they'll fall below the fighting effectiveness. So even if the Albins win, if these guys take a significant number of casualties, they could be out of the war for 5 days. Or if they lose half this number, even when they get these injured soldiers back, they may not have enough strength to continue fighting. They may need to take the rest of the season off. So bear that in mind. The other thing you need to think about is that the Tenebrans over here in the west have 6 units of dragoons, and they're all fairly fresh. So if the Albins lose this battle, they are going to take an absolute beating in the post-battle sequence. Remember that the fight doesn't end just because we picked up the terrain. The losers still have to get to safety. Their discipline is broken down. They're being pursued. A lot more casualties have happened in this campaign off of the table than have occurred on the table. And that will be true today. With all of that preamble out of the way, let's go ahead and turn our attention to the tabletop fight. I have angled the camera somewhat better so you can see. These reinforcements can come on anywhere where you see the gray foam. These reinforcements likewise. If they come on the road, they come on a 2+. These guys come on a 3+. And over here, we've got guys that come on because it's on their base side. If they come on the road, it's a 2+. If they come on adjacent to the road, it's going to be a 3+. You get to try twice per turn. Now, for those of you keeping score at home, the Tenebrans over here have a couple of battered units as well. They are going to want to keep an eye on the deep shore. There's 2. There's the 1st and 2nd deep shore line infantry, and that is going to be, it's going to be one of these groups of reinforcements, the 4th group to come in here, and then the other deep shore is going to be coming on. Where'd they go? It's this last unit right here. So they may not even come onto the battlefield. They don't have any reinforcements coming. All of their casualties were captured or killed, so there's no coming back for these guys. But they are more fresh. They can stand to take a lot more injuries. The break point is going to be if they lose 5 stands, if they lose 4 stands, that's going to be your loser. And as the defenders, these guys get to go first. We're going to go ahead and take it back down to bullet time as we bring those cannons up on top of the hill to hopefully try and secure the Albins' left flank. Bringing in some reinforcements. They're coming on slow for the Albins. The Tenebrans here are really sitting in the catbird seat. They've got the weight of numbers, and unlike the last battle, they're going to do everything they can to take advantage of that. Now, it's going to take some time to bring on enough forces for them to feel comfortable to launch the all-out attack, but Good old General, oh, who's it up there? General Lackey has learned from his past mistake. Don't be too quick. Take all the time you need. You've got it all. You can, if they're going to sit back behind that screen of trees and behind the hill, then you can go ahead and use those roads. I tell you, Lackey really did a fantastic job picking his terrain this time around, because he's got a couple of roads that are going to allow him to fly across the field. What you see up in the north there are a couple of light cavalry who are going to make a sweep around the Tenebran left. They're going to try to sweep around the pond. And if the Albins refuse that flank, that's fine. Down there in their backfield, there's artillery and a couple of more infantry units that are going to slide along that road, go up to the stream. Now, remember, the stream costs 3 inches to cross, so you have to move up to it on one turn, and then you cross it on the second turn, and then you can move normally. So, little bit taking advantage of the bridge up there on his left flank, bringing up a couple of infantry units, but now they're going to be able to wheel around that central light wood and really bring the line to hit at all at the same time, right? We've got an offensive line that's moving forward, and General Melter down here is setting up a solid defensive line on top of the hill. Unfortunately, the 2 infantry units that are over there on his right flank are badly battered. They really took a beating in the last battle, and they're really at half strength. So a bold move to have them kind of out front. Might have been better off to pull them back and put them behind the artillery a little bit. See if you've got, now at 3 inches of movement, you're going to get 2 solid cannon shots per turn. So that's a total of 4 dice to try and disrupt that line of attack. And with 3 cavalry, now on his left, there's a couple of light cavalry that are backing up General Meltzer. All of his units are on the board now, and it's all done but the shuffling. So you can see the battle taking shape. There's a couple more guys for the Tenebrans. Are going to approach that. Oop, let's keep the road where it belongs there. And now we can shoot the gap. Now we're really getting into it. So we're going to slow things down. Naturally enough, I record those voiceovers later, so coming up with an effective segue is a little bit difficult. The Albins are done. This is now their graveyard. Any losses they suffer, likewise over here. I'm holding off on the rest of these reinforcements for the Tenebrans. Those guys are all battered and bloodied, and we don't want to bring them on unless we absolutely have to. They're going to stay in the rear with the gear. Get healthy, boys. God bless you for your service. To King... I don't even remember what the king's name is. It's been so long since I talked about that personality. One thing I do remember here, I'm going to kind of tighten up the action just a little bit more and kind of tell you what's going on. We got a light cavalry. This is a heavy cavalry kind of sweeping around to see if you can scare those cavalry off. We got a flanking maneuver down here that's going to be tricky because these horses are now faced with the daunting prospect of crossing a river in the face of gunfire. But where we're at right now is Albins get to do their movement and dicing for reinforcements. They are going to start. Now, the difficulty here is that these guys have to decide whether they're going to move into hand-to-hand combat or wait and see what happens. Because if they don't move, player 2 gets to take a shot at them first, and then player 2... Oh, you know what I don't have for these guys? What an embarrassing thing to forget. They don't have a headquarters. So their headquarters are, I got to put them right here. I probably should have been shuffling them along anyway. Right behind the main thrust of the attack. And remember that General Typhonis over there is actually trying for a strong center, so that's why he's sweeping through here. If it looks tactically unsound, blame the dice. Not your not-so-humble host. We're looking at the Alban movement, and I think the only movement that we have at this point is just ensuring that General Irwin here can reach as many boys as possible with his commands. And I think this is probably about as good as it's going to get for him. That's about it. We can bring these guys up. Now, it costs 3 inches of movement to cross that stream. So if they come up, but then they're going to be stuck. I think we're just going to leave them here for now. Maybe, so these guys don't have much range. Maybe what we'll do is try to catch them in the stream as they're crossing the stream. Or maybe we'll see if there's anybody disrupted over here that they can run over and put paid to them. You know what? I take it back. We're going to go ahead and refuse that flank. Let's bring them right around. I don't know, where was he, like here? Let's bring him around to like right there. We've got a pretty solid defensive right over here. These guys, this cavalry, this is light cavalry. They're battered. We don't want to use them if we don't have to. If we have to lose a light cavalry, we want to lose one of the healthy ones so that they can live to fight another day. If they're a different color, it's because they ran out. These guys are actually light purplish. I think you can see the difference in color there. I ran out of light cavalry, so the Albins are, they've got some, I don't know, so they had some dye problems with the washerwomen. We're done moving for the Albins. No, we're not. He's still riding around out here to try and cause trouble for those cavalry out there. Then we move on to Albans rally. Then, now we have to contact here. They have to drive these guys off. We didn't want them to get stuck in like that, but that's about all you can do. Then we do, player 2 gets to fire his guns. So we have a cannon here that can fire, and let's try to clear these hills. And I think that's the only firing we've got. Everybody else is a little bit too far away. We're going to bring these guys up here so they can do a little bit of damage on those guys too. As I was saying, our shooting results, we're going to roll a d6. And the artillery there at long range. So that's going to be a -1. And I think that's it. Yep. So -1, looking for a 6 to have any effect. A 1 ain't going to do it. But luckily they're not pinned. So that's it for their shooting. Then it becomes time for, well, these guys might, we don't want to shoot with them. Okay. So then it becomes the resolve melee. So the only melee we've got is right here. And I think that's just a straight D6 because these are, neither of these guys are heavy. Nobody's disrupted. It's all just the one. So it's going to be a straight die roll. The white dice for the Albins, black for the Tenebrans. Tenebrans win by 1, so the loser routs with an optional follow-up. Routing means roll a d6, and on a 1 or a 2, they're destroyed. So they are destroyed right out of the gate. Optional follow-up. Yes, we're going to take the free 3 inches of movement and rush them up into the Alban backfield. Just like that, everything is falling apart. Now player 2 gets to move, and he's going to go ahead and he sees a general. He's going to put some pressure on him there. We're going to go ahead and bring in this guy to here. We're going to march our units forward like so. Move that die out of the way. Turn you and bring you up this way. And it costs 3 inches of movement to cross this stream. So we're going to go ahead and bring these guys down 1.5 and then up. And then likewise, he's just going to get on the edge. So next turn, they'll be able to cross over the stream. But that's all they can do for now. We've got another unit. They get a +1. Oh, I forgot. They get a +1 movement because they're on the road. And then we get a +1 movement over here. And then we've got a couple of light cavalry who are headed out to see if they can gang. You know, let's leave him back here. We're going to see if we can triple team that heavy cavalry that's just off the top of your screen there. Anybody else want to move? Yeah, these light infantry are going to move up. So they're across the stream now as well. By the way, the stream, if you route into the stream, you're destroyed. That seems kind of important. If it costs a full move, then yeah, unless you're standing right on the stream bank, it's going to take more movement to cross than you got. So it's going to be important for these guys to get over as soon as possible, but they've already got a pretty good run-up going. So that's it for their movement. Player 2 rallies units. He has no units to rally, so we're on to player 1 shooting. And oh, does player 1 have some shooting to do. Those guys do not, these are, see how they're condensed? That's a grenadier. These guys that are separated a little bit, that's a straight infantry. So we have an infantry here firing into the front of another infantry. That is a first fire, so it's going to be +1. And that is the only bonus we have to this die roll. So nothing happens. And I need to mark them as having fired. So they are now pinned. They can continue to shoot, but they cannot move. Then we've got an artillery here who is going to fire at, we're going to fire at this unit, and because it's less than 3 inches, it's +1. Because they are uphill, they are at +1, and that should be it. Oh, he should have moved up to here. Okay, so it's going to be +2 to the die roll. Him firing here. A 6 is going to be target disrupted. The unit is marked as disrupted. Until it rallies, it may not move or fire. So we're going to do 2 things here. We are going to drop a red on it, and we're going to turn it around. Then we have to decide, are we going to send another volley in from that cannon? If we do, because they are disrupted, it's an additional +1, so that would be a +3 to the die roll. Or we can fire here with only a +1. I think we got to take the +3 and try to get rid of those guys. A 5 is going to be target pinned, which he is already disrupted, so I think that's it. He can rally on a 5 or 6, and I believe 1, 2, 3, that's it for the shooting. Then we move on to player 2 resolves melee. He did not manage to make it into melee, so we move back on to the Alban turn. It is now turn, I want to say 6, maybe it's turn 7. I'm not too worried about it either way. The Albins have to do some moving now, and so the first thing we're going to do is send these guys crashing down into that disrupted unit. We're going to bring our grenadiers to contact here. We rally after movement. So that's pretty much, we're going to move our headquarters to safety. Let's bring you guys up. They can move 6 inches. Let's bring them up to here. And let's bring our cavalry to here and to here. And I think that's probably our best bet. And I think that's it for movement. Maybe we can bring these guys. You know what? We're going to shift these guys around to there. Player 1 rallies units. So now, because we got to leave this, he is within 6 inches, just barely. So he can try to rally, and he does so on a 5 or a 6. So 4, they're pinned. They can still shoot. It's a straight D6, but they cannot move. Then player 1 has to resolve melee, and the only melee we have here is a grenadier at +1 versus a Tenebran line who is even Stevens. So that's a tie, and in the event of a tie, we re-roll. So that is another tie. Oh, they're slugging it out there, man. It's just a real Donnybrook, as they say. And there you go. 6 versus a 2 is loser destroyed with a must follow up, but why wouldn't you? So that is going to be the end of the fight. That's the first Alban Grenadiers. They really needed to win that one. And then we have one more. Now this one should work out a little better, although it leaves those guys kind of hanging. The light infantry, or here are our modifiers. The light cavalry, they face a -1, but the enemy is disrupted, so they get a +2. So that means they're at a total of +1. So the white die is +1. They win, and the loser routes. Move your maximum distance to your direct rear. After it's completed, the unit is also disrupted. They were already disrupted. If you're disrupted when you're disrupted, are you destroyed? Let's go to the rulebook. All right, so a disrupted unit that routes remains disrupted. The question is whether they want to follow up. And I don't know, I guess if they can push them back one more time, maybe they can make contact with the headquarters. That's the end of melee. So we go on to the Tenebran turn. And the Tenebrans get to move. Oh, we forgot to move this guy too, didn't we? So he was just waiting. The Tenebrans get to move. That's going to be a real problem for you, isn't it? Tenebrans get to move, 5 inches to there. So we'll bring them up in a solid line, and this line infantry gets to move 4, 4. Now it's only going to be 3 inches to there. These guys get to move 4 inches to here, and we'll bring these guys to contact, and these guys to contact. We'll swing around and we'll come to contact these guys with the fresh. Now, because you've got fresh troops, we're going to rotate, and that's going to be the melee we do first. The disrupted unit cannot lend support to these guys. I think that's probably the best way to handle this. We do have a line infantry that's going to be able to make contact with this unit here. And this artillery. And I think that's, no, so these guys come across, and these guys can get stuck in the woods 1, 2, and 3. And I do believe that's it for the Tenebran movement, so it becomes the shooting phase for the Albins. No, the first thing we have to do is rally units for the Tenebrans, and the only unit they have to rally is this guy. He is close enough to his headquarters. In fact, we're feeling pretty confident, so we'll move the headquarters up just to there, and we'll bring him to contact. Hey, suck it up, boys, and they do not rally. Then it's time for the Albins to open fire. Well, interesting. If you're in melee, player 1 shoots firearms artillery, and then you resolve melee. Okay, got it. You can only shoot once in your turn. If you're charged by an attacker, only one can be shot at. So it looks like they do get one shot here, but that's going to be at evens because they are pinned. And that 5 means the target is now pinned. Okay. Not sure what that means. But we also have an artillery here that's firing out of their flank, so that's going to be at a -1. So their artillery at close range for +1. They're shooting out of the flank for -2, but they are uphill for -2. So they're going to take a shot, and they are at evens, and a 4 is no effect. And then we have one more artillery shot that's going to go at long range at this guy. Is going to be at a +1. And that 6 is going to be a lifesaver because that target is now disrupted. And when a target is disrupted, they cannot move or fire and is more vulnerable to attacks. So nice supporting shot. Remember that we're dealing with discrete units. As they move, these guys fired, or I don't know, whatever. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So then we do player 2 resolves melee. So now player 2's melee is going to be, let's do the big fun one first. It's these guys crushing these guys. And the black die is going to be at, the attacker is, they're at nothing. The white die is higher than the opponent at +1, but they're an artillery, so they're at -3. So in total, we're looking at a -2 to the white die. And that's going to be a loser destroyed must follow up. And because this is their second attack now, they're at -1. But they're not downhill anymore. They've crested the hill. So they're at -3, they're at -1. And we get a 0 and a 1, and that means that the loser routes. So first we have to roll a d6 and see what happens. Come on, lay flat, you stinker. All right, so he is not destroyed, but he pivots, and then he... Loser routes optional follow-up. He moves back 1, 2, 3. If at any point the unit touched an enemy unit, the unit is destroyed. It may pass through friendly units. There you go. May pass through friendly units. So they have driven the artillery off the hill. And they have an optional follow-up, which they will take. They're fighting at -1. And if they can win this, which they just did, it's a 5 versus a 2. A difference of 3 is loser destroyed. And that's the end of the battle. The Tenebrans are victorious. They have a pinned unit that will take 5% losses and 2 disrupted units that will take additional losses. But they didn't lose a single unit to destruction. That's major. Not only that, with a overwhelming strength of their dragoons, this post-battle sequence is going to be murder on the forces of the White Queen. King Gloomover is going to be thrilled. I had to look it up. It's been such a long time since I said his name. With the results of this battle, with his army largely intact, let's go to the big board and see what Typhonis has in store. As you can see, with this victory down here, he has an open march to Sun Harbor. It's a small village, but we may wind up seeing a siege to take over Sun Harbor. On the day this battle is fought, this 15 AP of reinforcements that Irwin was ordered to send north that might have made a big difference in this battle, where are they going to be? On the 23rd? They're going to be up near Might Reach. So we'll see if the battered remains of this army can run back up and maybe stop somewhere around here to hopefully break a siege. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. First, we have to honor and bury the dead, and that's going to take some time, so look for that in the next video coming up, I don't know, 2 days, 4 days, 6 days, $1. Until then, I'm praying for you guys.